Chris Avina with American Outdoor News. Today we have an icon in the outdoor industry, Travis T-Bone Turner. Travis, thank you for coming on.
Oh man, thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate you inviting me on. So I'm gonna have to slip you a 20 next time I see you for all the accolades you said right there.
Well, I know we don't really know each other that well. We've seen each other at the shows here and there, but it's really great to really pin you down and get some questions out to you.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely, man. My pleasure. This day and age, I guess Corona's done kicked it off. We tend to do quite a few podcasts, and it's always a pleasure to. This is I guess the electronic campfire where we can kick around, uh, archery and hunting, and well, it's just like sharing deer camp.
It is. It is. Now, you are a four-time Georgia State archery champ.
Yeah, back in the day, a long time ago, in the '90s, I got lucky a few times and took the state championship a couple times. Sure did.
Now, you didn't initially take to archery when were first introduced to it. What really brought you back into it?
Well, like to go way back, I got a bow when I was like 10 or 11 years old. My dad had bought it for good grades, and like so many people, a bow needs to be custom set for you. But for a 10 or 11-year-old kid, my dad had bought me a 45-pound recurve, and it was all I could do to bend the string, 6 or 8 inches. And
Sure.
basically my introduction was, man, I'm not strong enough to pull this. There's no way I'll ever be able to do it. And, all I did was just aimed and watched the arrow go up and come back down. And, it was real short lived. And I had that perception of archery as something that I never could do. But, we always go through a pretty good transformation from 10 years old all the way to 18 or 19 years old. And, I played football, and, I was a lineman for our high school, and, and naturally I'd gotten a lot stronger, but in my head, I still even though I was, 6'2" and, 265 pounds, I thought, well, there's no way I can pull 45 pounds, but, I never would try it again. Well, then my buddies just out of high school, they taught me into bow hunting in their club with them. And they said, look, we're not going to be fishing anymore, because my passion in high school and stuff was fishing. I did hunt, but I didn't bow hunt. And they said, look, we're going to be practicing a lot in the afternoons. You ought to go ahead and get a bow and hunt with us, and you can lengthen your season another 5 or 6 weeks here in Georgia. And I thought, okay, I'll get a bow. And I got a bow. They talked me into getting a bow. I bought it on a Wednesday. I wouldn't even pull the bow back in the store because I was embarrassed I wouldn't be able to get it back. So the guy, it was an 80-pound bow, and he backed it down as far as he could to 64 pounds, an old PSC Strata Flight Express. I took it home, and he was like, you want to draw it back? And I said, no, I'll just do it when I get home, because I wouldn't want to do it in the store. And I got home, and I said, all right, man, I done spent nearly $400 on this setup. I got to see if I can pull it. And I give it all I got, and man, I about ripped the wheels off the bow so much. So instantly I was like, man, I'm going to be able to do this. So, I just took to it. I never have been super great in sports or anything like that. And, I played sports, but to say that I was good was an understatement. But I don't know, I guess hand-eye coordination, and I really took to and loved archery. And
Yep.
from that point on, couldn't get enough of it.
Well, it's really a sport that anybody can get involved in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. It's that's the good thing about it, is, and why I like it too, is you know, no matter if you're big, you're small, you're young, old, it doesn't matter. And even me now, I'm in a wheelchair, and I've lost I had my leg amputated because of cancer, and my arms are still working. I can bend the string, so I'm still able to shoot my bow and work on bows quite a lot. So archery is really timeless.
How has archery changed your life?
It's hugely. I worked for Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta, and I was tired of dealing with the traffic, going to and from Atlanta. I'm just like, I'm just not cut out for this. I had a good job and had worked there for 8 or 9 years, but I said, while I'm young and while I'm don't have any commitments and responsibilities, I thought, man, this would be a great time to try something that I love. And my uncles and my dad had said, pursue a passion and you'll never feel like you worked a day in your life. And I thought, now's the time to do it, when I don't have a mortgage or a wife or kids depending on me to make an income. I can eat bologna sandwiches and get through there. So I I
Macaroni
did.
and cheese serves you just fine
Oh
when
yeah.
you're young.
I had I had already been shooting competitively, and I couldn't get enough of archery, so I quit my job, went to work with an outdoor store, and took a pretty good pay cut. But you know what? I didn't feel like I was working a day in my life. I was around the people that had the same interest. I was making people fulfill their dreams and helping people get better, and I was learning the ins and outs of the business. And through that was back in the early 90s. And from that point on, just as doors opened and opportunities opened within the industry, I just never burn a bridge, I guess you could say, and always
Yep.
had strong relationships. And wham, you blink a couple of times, and here we are, 30 years down the road, and being able to carve out a career doing something that you love.
How does somebody become a certified professional archer, which you are?
Yeah, back in the day, we had certification. You had the APA, Association of Professional Archers, and they had a certification class and/or compete at a certain level and place at certain. I don't even know if they have certifications like that now. You basically, if you if it's the ASA or if it's the NFAA or whatever organization, I think if you just pay the entry fee for that particular class, then you can compete against the professionals. But back in the day, I went through the school and/or the qualifications to become a APA certified professional. So, um, I, I got my butt whooped a whole bunch of times, and I guess that kind of helps you become a pro as well. You're up there shooting against the best of the best, and
Yeah.
you get your butt whooped, and then just 30 years of turning wrenches and tuning bows and stuff. I guess I don't even like using the word professional. Now that we're making a living and we have our TV show, we like to refer to it as outdoor entertainers, not professionals, because most of our audience and the folks that are even listening to the podcast and stuff here now are probably as good, if not way better hunters than what we are as it is. So we don't even like that word professional hunter or even professional archer. I competed in the professional class, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just a string bender like everybody else.
Well, I think you're more of a precision shooter. People will, they go hunting and, you know, they know what they're going to shoot at, they're taking home. But I think when you shoot at something, you're hitting exactly the spot that you're shooting at.
Oh, we certainly try to anyway. We try to increase the chances.
Now, how has the outdoors really changed your life? I mean, you're considered a consummate outdoorsman. You fish, you hunt, you shoot. What drew you to the outdoors?
Like so many other people, the outdoors, I think it's bred in us that we're hunters actually, and you can say through conveniences in modern day, we don't have to hunt and gather like we did, hundreds and thousands of years ago. However, our wives are hunters, we're hunter. We hunt for that biscuit in the morning. We hunt for a cup of coffee in the morning.
Yep.
So, it's built into us to be hunters. So, I just always loved the outdoors. My dad, my uncle, and my peers and stuff. That's what we did. Our pastimes were that. There wasn't a lot of distractions like there are now, and I don't know. I just couldn't get enough of it. And especially with archery, I was drawn to it because it's a single eyes sport. You have to suppress your nervous energy, and no matter how good you do get, you can always be better. And then I call it a cross between like NASCAR and golf, because with golf, you have to worry about undulation, shadows, lighting, wind,
Hmm.
yardage estimations, all the things that you have to, and you have to suppress your nervous energy. When you're a baseball player or a basketball player or a football player, you want that nervous energy, you want that adrenaline rush, but you have to suppress those things with archery. So I compare it to golf, and that's why I like watching golf so much, because it is compared to competitive archery or archery period. And then it's a lot like NASCAR too, because you're always trying to build a better mousetrap, putting weighted inserts in, trying to fine tune your arrow, changing the degree of offset on your fletchings, and tuning your arrow rest, and tweaking your draw length and poundage, and all these type of things are, to make it more forgiving and more accurate for you. So you know, to answer that answers, I hope that answers part of your question. And the other thing is, you know, outdoors is being able to make a living at it. It seemed like, I guess I had a gift to gab, so to speak. So, between the help and the opportunities that, you know, like David Blanton, Michael Waddell, Bill Jordan, Realtree had given me as a platform, I guess I resonated to a lot of the people out there, as far as like, man, that big joker, you know, he seems like he'd be a good guy to have in camp, as like-minded as the people that I'm associated with, and most people. It's just you know, and then hopefully I can teach a little lesson here and there, or give a little tidbit of advice, and I think people are kind of drawn to that. So with all that said, you know, if you get a little bit of a following and a blessing of a platform, you can carve out a living. And then, as of, you know, recent years, in the last 10 or 12 years, I've been the national spokesperson for Whitetails Unlimited too, which is the largest and oldest conservation group for whitetails in the country.
Sure.
So I get to do a lot of public speaking, and I get to go meet and shake hands with a lot of folks doing expos and stuff. So, you know, between amongst all that, you know, you get a paycheck here and there, and before you know it, you're making a few house payments, and then hey, you've paid your dues, and you got yourself a career.
Sure. Now, how does somebody choose the right archery setup, the right bow setup for them?
Yeah, so I guess we're speaking to someone that's listening that wants to get into archery, or a beginning archer. They're like, "Oh man, it just looks so intimidating. I don't know how to get into it." And it's basically like buying clothes, or buying, you know, a tailor made suit. There's a lot of bows out there, and there's a lot of good prices. You can shop online, and you can find stuff on eBay and pawn shops and such. But if you don't get the right one, it's like finding a pair of pants on sale for $9. You think you got to steal, but then you go back and it's a 58-inch waist like I wear. So it's going to cover your butt, but it's not going to fit you too good. So with that said, it's it's best to go to a reputable pro shop. There's through all the um, avenues of buying outdoor products and stuff, there's nothing archery wise that's going to replace the mom and pop shop, the independent retailer, to where you can walk in and get custom fit, just like you would with your custom golf clubs.
Yep.
Your draw length has to be precise. Too long of a draw length, and you're going to hit your arm. You're not going to be proficient. Too short of a draw, you're going to be in a bind, and you're not going to be a proficient as well either. So you want to make sure that you get the right poundage and the right draw length first and foremost, and then you can customize it to what type of rest and how you tune the bow and the type of sights that you may like. A good pro shop will walk you through all the pros and cons of each accessory and such, and get you outfitted according to your budget. But the staple to all of this is a good solid anchor point. Your draw length's got to be correct, and the draw weight has to be one to where you can practice proficiently, and then you're off and running, and you can polish and change your accessories according to that.
Well, I know for me personally, when I bought my last bow, I went to the bow shop, and I just kept picking up bows and holding it out like you're drawing and seeing how it felt. And I did that with all different brands walking down the line, and I finally just picked one that felt good in my hand.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, and not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but yeah, in a good pro shop, to take it to the next level, he'll let you shoot several ones, because just picking them up is like a handshake, and it may feel good, but you need to actually shoot it so that you feel the bow on the shot, the oscillation of the shot. You need to feel how it feels in your hand, how it aims, and then you know, just to see how the bow feels. And then I hope that you know, the reputable pro shop that you're going to, depending on your application, if you're looking for just a tournament bow, you know, naturally you may want to go with a little longer axle to axle, you know, for more forgiveness. If you're just going to be hunting ground blinds, you're going to want something a little bit more compact.
Yep.
You know, if you're only a 27-inch draw, there's no need to have a 40-inch axle to axle bow. You can get away with a shorter axle to axle bow. So there's a lot of you know, and it depends on your budget as well. Hopefully they make the right recommendations, and they got a selection for you to try and see which one suits you best.
Well, I'm vertically impaired, so I don't, my draw length isn't really all that long. So, but yeah, I found a bow that felt good in my hand. I had them set it up for me to test it out. I shot it. Um, I shot a second arrow. It was a Robin Hood, and I just handed it back to him, told him wrap it up.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's almost like you wasted a couple of good shots on some critters with it, shooting that good.
Yeah, and you know what? I used to shoot a Hoyt. Um, Great bow. I know you know that's one of your favorites.
Hmm.
It wasn't a Hoyt. It wasn't a Matthews. It wasn't a Bowtech. It was
Yeah,
it was a Diamond.
yeah,
And
and which is a subsidiary company of Bowtech. But
correct.
yeah, but there's a lot of great bows out there today. That's the great thing about it. 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have many to choose from. You had maybe a 10 or 12 different brand or no, or less than 10 brands and probably only about that many more models as well. Whereas now it's sky's the limit as what you can, just with Hoyt alone, there's probably 15 different models that you can choose from. And then all the different colors and all the different, every manufacturer have those options. That's great to have so many options.
Sure. And then there's the sights and the strings and the quivers. There's so many accessories you can put onto it.
Yeah. I always recommend, if you're on a budget and you're setting up the bow, to always make sure that you spend money on um, your release and your rest first and foremost. Don't skimp on those two items because a cheap and poorly built rest, a $400 sight's not going to make up for a poor performing rest. Whereas with a great rest, it's going to group well, and you could actually aim with a toothpick glued to the side of the riser if you wanted to. So make sure that you spend your money on a really good rest so that you get consistency as well as a good release so that it doesn't have travel and it's real precision.
So, do you prefer drop away or a whisker biscuit for hunting?
Either one, honestly. I don't have any. Probably, if the budget can handle it, I lean towards the drop away. It is more consistent and it is more. You don't have to worry about um, deflection or anything that's dragging on the arrow. But I don't have a problem with a whisker biscuit at all. If a guy's budget will only handle, the 40 or 50, $60 whisker biscuit, then by all means, if that's what it came down to, I wouldn't be afraid to shoot one of those as well. We set a lot of them up. They perform well. There's just a few things that you have to worry about, like if you hunt up north and you get a little moisture and they can freeze. The bristles will fill up with water and then they
Okay.
freeze and then it won't perform so well. And it does wear your veins down pretty good. There's a lot of contact on your veins and you have to replace your veins a little more prematurely. But for the most part, for a guy that's only putting, two, three, 400 shots on his bow every year and wants something that's forgiving, that provides full capture on his arrow, I don't have a problem with the whisker biscuit.
Okay. What about your release? Um,
Release, I've worked with the folks at True Ball for, I don't know, 15 or 16 years and had some input on some of the designs of the ones that we're shooting now. There's a lot of good, True Ball is the one that we choose. There's a lot of good manufacturers out there. Carter is another one. True Ball as well as Scott. All three of those make exceptional. Ultra View is one that's up and coming, that's building really tight tolerances, good parts, and really highly innovated. So the biggest thing is the tolerances and stuff. So you can look forward to spending anywhere from probably around $100 upwards to, if you go to a T handle or a back tension style, that you can spend upwards of $200 to $240 on a release. But I
yeah.
mean, we're still shooting me, Michael, and Nick are still shooting the prototypes that we helped design way back in 2008. So you're going to get plenty of years out of them. I can't tell you how many shots have been fired with my release.
Wrist release or thumb release?
It's really personal preference. For tournaments, I always shoot a hinge release, a T-handled hinge where you don't actually have a trigger, and that's my for accuracy, forgiveness, and that's my go-to. That's my favorite one. However, it's not conducive to hunting, I don't think. I think a wrist strap is more suited, because sometimes even though you're trying to execute a good push, pull, back tension shot, sometimes that deer doesn't have time to wait on you. If he's rutting and running a doe through the holler and you stop him at 30, you need to get the shot off. So I think for the masses, a good, well-built index style wrist strap release is probably going to be the number one. But a lot of people are going to a T-handle release. But, again, that comes down to personal preference.
I've been using the same True Ball wrist release for 20 years.
Yeah. Yep.
It works. I'm not changing it.
Yep. You take care of them and they'll last forever.
Now, the biggest archery debate for hunting, mechanicals or fixed blades?
Mechanicals over fixed blades. Well, it seems like every podcast, especially this time of year, we always talk about that. And, I'm a fan of both. So it's not like one's better than the other, but I like to approach things with a pro and con type of attitude, meaning naturally the mechanicals are going to be more aerodynamic. But the mechanicals are not made for everybody, meaning like if you're only pulling 40 pounds and you're a 24-inch draw, I would highly recommend fixed blade. But for the average guy, the guy that's pulling, high 50s, 58 pounds to 75 pounds or more, and has the, correct weighted arrow, don't shoot a real light arrow. Try to shoot something 450 grains to 550 grains. I recommend mechanicals just because, and we're talking whitetail here, so if you may want to tweak that if you're going moose hunting or elk hunting or a big critter of that sort. But for what most of us hunt, for Billy Joe Lunch Bucket, the blue collar guy, I do like a mechanical, and I only recommend the mechanicals that are rear deploying where they slide into place rather than the ones that go in and have to fold back over themselves.
Yeah.
It robs the arrow of a lot of kinetic energy, and it also, if you get an angled shot, it can deter the path of the arrow. Therefore, you're losing energy, and then you lose penetration. So, mechanical is my go-to, meaning like it flies accurate because I'm a stickler for accuracy. Accuracy is always going to win.
Yep.
And if it's a fixed blade broadhead, your groups are going to open up just because of the aerodynamics are not as good as they probably could be. Even though we have things like the broadhead tuner. I've been tuning broadheads for 20 something years, but with Last Chance Archery, I helped with them. We designed a broadhead tuner so that you can perfectly align the broadhead with the shaft, so where it's not on there crooked. If you've ever spun a broadhead and it wobble a little bit, we know that the leading edge and the aerodynamics of the fixed blade broadhead is going to make it dip and dive. Whereas what we can do with this tuner is bring it in straight, and we can make fixed blade broadheads group as tight as they've ever shot, and even cut your groups in half compared to just screwing them on and going. But they still don't are not as accurate as the mechanical. And then the advantage to the mechanical, you can tune them as well, but once it gets there, it opens up. Now you have a massive 2-inch cut. The broadheads that we're shooting are the G5 dead meats, or the mega meats is my favorite. So when it opens up, it has a not a steep broadhead angle, so it's not chopping, it's slicing like a fillet knife. And then you got 3 blades that's causing a 2-inch hole. So more massive hemorrhaging, more damage. And if the deer was to duck, or if I was to, fall short on my end and have a bad shot, you have that to do more damage than what you would on a real small fixed blade broadhead that might not be flying as accurately as your mechanical. So
yeah, there's no denying the gaping holes that the mechanical will give you.
Yeah. And that's just for, like I said, I wanted to reiterate, everybody just thinks, well, T-Bone said to do the mechanical. I do if you're developing enough kinetic energy and foot-pounds of momentum where you have a good heavy arrow. I don't advise it if you're shooting 55 pounds and shooting a 350 grain arrow. I strongly recommend in that instance using a fixed blade broadhead.
Well, at with all of the gear that you're bringing into the woods, what's one piece of gear you can't do without?
Well, for the actual hunt, it would probably be my laser rangefinder. You know, gosh, we've come. You know, I get asked this a lot. You know, you always have innovations with your bow every year, but even bows 20 years ago were pretty awesome. Each year they get more innovative and more innovative. But the laser rangefinder in the last 25 years has been phenomenal and aided in anything. I would say the number one advancement in all of hunting is definitely the trail camera or the cell phone trail camera, just because it gives you so much intel and it allows you to, you know, hunting's not like it was 30 years ago. You can get a menu so that you, when you're sitting there, you can make a good decision on what deer you may want to take, may or may not want to take, and you can kind of see if you're having problems with, you know, your does or your deer. You know, like I've got one deer that I've been posting on social media here lately. His hooves are curved all the way up. I mean, like his hooves are an extra this much longer, which means he's foundered or he's an EHD survivor. But it lets you, you know, monitor your herd all year long rather than and keep check on their movements rather than just like we used to do 25, 30 years ago. You see some rubs and you see some sign, which is a great way of hunting, and it's the old school way of hunting. But
Yeah.
this is, and I'm not saying don't still do that, but you're gathering more intel so that you know you don't make a bad mistake and you can maybe pick and choose what critter that you would like to take and or the amount of critters that you'd like to take. Plus, it keeps your interest and gives you a pride factor about your property all year long rather than just like, man, I'm going out here. I have no idea what I'm fixing to see, but I'm gonna sit there for, you know, 6 hours and see what happens, which is a good way to hunt, but sure does make a lot better knowing that you've got some sweat equity of going to check cameras or knowing that you've been out there all year long. It aids to the pride factor of like, you know, I have raised this deer. I've got some sweat equity in a food plot,
Yeah.
or if you're putting out bait and stuff. So the trail camera is probably number one, and the rangefinder, as far as on my person the day of the hunt and trying to kill a critter, the rangefinder would be number two.
Well, technology certainly has changed the way we hunt. You
Yeah.
know, I would say even the past 10 years has really accelerated.
Yeah.
The amount of gear, the technology in the gear, and just what's available.
Yes. Yes. I've been playing a lot too. I don't know if you've ever done it much here lately, is thermal scopes and thermal binoculars.
Hmm.
It's, we have hogs down here, and then armadillos are a problem down here in Georgia. So for doing night hunting with coyotes and for hogs, the thermal imaging is just like it's a whole nother world out there at dark, and to be able to see things so clearly.
Yeah.
I tell everybody that whenever I'm out there with the AR and my thermal scopes and binoculars and stuff, we're hog hunting or whatever, I said, this will be the closest I ever come to SEAL Team 6, so I better enjoy it.
You know, I've actually had James Sellers on my podcast a couple of times from SiteMark, and I've never hunted with a thermal.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and SiteMark is a great one. Actually, those and Pulsar, the Pulsar is the brand that I have, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of good ones. And it seems like every year it's just like growing in quality and innovations each year. They're really pouring a lot, and the price is coming down too. So
Even digitally, Pulsar has some amazing digital scopes with picture in
yes,
picture, and I mean, it's really off the charts.
it is. It is. And like I said, it's the closest I'll ever be to getting on SEAL Team 6. So I'm enjoying that aspect of it.
It's really amazing. But
Yep.
you know, I'm looking forward to see what they come out with next.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you know, Bushnell, you know, they're innovators in laser rangefinder, and we've been using them for quite some time. And this past year, they come out with Active Sync. And are you familiar with it?
No, not at all.
Active, yeah, with Active Sync, the cool thing about it is like before, whenever I'd, you know, like right at dusky dark or right at daylight, you know, you're trying to get yardages around your stand, and you
Mhm.
can't really see the numbers because they're black. So what I'd do is range something. I could just barely make out a tree, and I'd range it, and then I'd hold the rangefinder up to the sky so I could read the numbers, because you couldn't see the numbers at dusky dark.
Uh-huh.
This thing has a sensor inside there so that if it's too dark to see, it'll glow just enough red to where you can read the numbers. But yet, whenever you go up to the horizon, let's just say you've got a deer at 150 yards and he's on the horizon and it's bright sky behind there, it'll change it to black so that you can
Wow,
read the numbers. It knows when you need what backdrop you need to read the numbers correctly.
that's
And
incredible.
and not too bright. Yeah. So it was that plus the, extremely clear lenses that they've had. And they've also, in the past, there's always, rangefinders have always had a problem with me being a competitive archer with black targets. It doesn't pick up on a black target because it's not reflective.
Yeah.
Well, they've solved all that with the new rangefinders that they have now. So they read the black targets, or if it's a black bear, or anything black or real dark, it gives you a more accurate reading to it. So it's pretty cool.
And they automatically adjust to the angle if you're in the stand. It's really
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I'm like, man, somebody way smarter than me made this thing.
It's above my pay grade.
That's right. That's right.
So now, over the past year, you've had to make some major adjustments in your life.
Yes.
And from social media looking, you've adjusted better than most people I would know. How has that changed the way you are looking to get into the woods?
Yeah, like we talked about briefly just before we got started here. I was diagnosed with myxofibrosarcoma last fall or late September, and then I went through chemo all fall long. And it's sarcoma is a very rare type of cancer, but it's very fast growing. So I had 4 to 6 tumors that was anywhere the size of a tennis ball to a softball on my shin. It got to where I couldn't even wear jeans anymore. They grew that fast. It started it was a knot at the end of July. It was about the size of a grape, and it went to that size by the 1st of November. I mean, it grew, busted through the skin. It was horrific.
Wow.
Yeah, so they treated me with chemo to make sure that it didn't spread to my vitals, and all knowing the whole time, in September and October, we knew probably we got to do the chemo first. And then, obviously I'd probably going to have my leg amputated because there's no way to remove all the cancer where it's intertwined in my ligaments, my muscles, my bones and everything. If you don't get it all, it'll come back. So it was inevitable that I was going to have to lose my leg. So, yeah, first part of February, I lost my leg, and don't get me wrong, I feel like I've done a pretty good job of being positive and upbeat about it, and having a pretty good outlook and appreciative for everything that's been going. But I'm not gonna lie, there's been some days I had my lip poked out, and it's still adjusting. It's just a new normal. But the way I look at it is, I'm in my early 50s, and I've lived if I don't kill another critter, if I've already outlived my dreams way more than what I still want to be around. But I'm humbled and appreciative of the position that I have. I can still shoot my bow. I'm still talking with podcasts. I'm able to still be relevant within the outdoor industry, and you just got to adapt to your changes. So between having outdoor chairs, and I'm waiting on my prosthetic leg, I'm still in the rehab stages for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can see that I'll be able to, have a fulfilling life. It's just things are going to be a little different than what they were, the past time in my life. So I'm still here. That's the biggest thing,
That is a big thing.
beats the alternative. It could be worse.
Every day above ground's a good day.
That's correct. That's correct. So we thank our blessings, and we have a poopy face every day, but I mean, people that's got everything have poopy days. So we just we
It,
just we just roll our lip in and keep on going.
that's true. There's always something worse around the corner that we
Yep.
we don't want to see. Now, you're going to be what, hunting from ground blind this year, or?
Yeah, I'd like to think that maybe, I mean, I don't want to overshoot my goals, but definitely I'd be ground blind, whether you brush in a blind, or I can take a pop up and walk in the back door. I got a walker that I can get in there. But I'd like to think that maybe if I get decent enough on a prosthetic leg, I know it's going to take some time to get used to it, but maybe I could just one leg limp up like a redneck blind, or maybe a ladder stand again in the future. But hey, like I said, if all it is ground blinds from here on out, I mean, I, I I have no problems with that. I mean, I've killed a lot of critters off the ground, so I don't have a problem with that at all.
Well, we're looking forward to what you have ahead of us. What is in the works as far as this coming season for the shows?
Yeah, actually, I just got word yesterday. Nick killed a huge mule deer out in Utah yesterday, so we've already started there. Yep, and normally I would go to Kentucky, but this year I'm focusing right here at home. I got Georgia. I got several farms here in Georgia I'll be hunting. So we've been working real hard on trying to dial in some deer around here. Also my place in Kansas. I hope to go to Kansas. I drew a Kansas tag. And then if I go to Kansas, I got a place to hunt right across the line in Oklahoma. So maybe I'll bounce over there, and I think we got a place lined up for Texas. So if I was to do those 4 states, Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, and then Georgia, I will consider this year a success, still being in the rehab mode. So we'll just have to see how it goes.
That's still a pretty active season.
Yes, yeah, yeah. But even if I just do Kansas and Georgia, that'll be fine by me. But I'm definitely gonna be out there, um, hopefully making a few deer legs quiver.
Well, it's great to hear, and we're looking forward to see what you have in store for us.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate all that you guys do and the platform that you provide, and thank you for having me on. I'm glad we got to connect and knock out a podcast.
All right. Well, thanks again, and good luck this season.
Thank you, Chris.